Of the colors and the singing of our national anthem by the Summertime Quartet Singers. Detail, host the colors.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing for the invocation by Dave Rattay, followed by the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance by Karen and Dave Rattay.
Please pray with me. Lord, today we honor veterans, worthy women and men, who gave their best when they were called upon to serve and protect our country. We pray that you will bless them for their unselfish service in the constant struggle to preserve our freedoms, our safety, and our country's heritage, and restore the freedoms and safety of others less fortunate. Bless our veterans for the hardships they have faced, for the sacrifices they made, and for their contributions to America's victories over tyranny and oppression. We respect them, we thank them, we honor them, and ask you to bless them with peace and happiness today and for all eternity. Amen.
Please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take your seats and hopefully stay warm. There is a little bit of a breeze today. Good morning, you brave people. Thank you for coming to the Stillwater Veterans Memorial for this year's Veterans Day celebration. Mother Nature has covered us with a white blanket, and to include a frost in the air. We are here to honor our veterans, past and present. I am Tom Simonet, your MC and host for the ceremony. And on behalf of the Stillwater Veterans Memorial Committee, I do welcome each of you to this location. Today in attendance, we do have the honor of having Minnesota House Representative Robert Dittmer, so please thank him. And again, thank you all for coming to hear. A point of beginning sets the marker for land descriptions. Our marker today is the acknowledgement that 100 years ago, today, church bells rang across this valley celebrating the end of the Great War. A parade was taking place downtown Stillwater to commemorate that day. An armistice was signed in a nondescript railroad car in Paris, France, early on the morning of November 11, 1918. A ceasefire across the countryside of Europe started on that 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The Great War was not the only time our brave women and men have been asked by our country to defend our freedoms. Going back in history, there are only 9 calendar years that can trace that the American soldiers were not asked by our government to go into harm's way. 6 of those years spanned the time period of 1935 to 1940. But then on December 7, 1941, the United States mobilized the armed forces to restore freedoms. Today we are familiar with the battles of the war on terrorism. Who in our generation can forget that fateful day on September 11, 2001? We have asked a new generation of leaders to step forward and defend freedoms across the globe. In an Armistice Day address by President Harding in 1921, he summed up nicely the actions of all our veterans. He stated, and I quote, "There shall be no distinction between those who knew the perils and glories of the battlefield or the dangers of the sea, from those who have been compelled to serve behind the lines, or those who constituted the great reserve of our grand army, which awaited in the call of camps at home. They were all brave, all were self-sacrificing, who shared ideals. They were worthy sons and daughters." For the veterans today in our attendance, whatever was your source of calling, we are thankful you responded, stood tall, and made a world a better place. Know always we are grateful as a nation because we enjoy the freedom not known around the world. Similar to Memorial Day, we have coordinated with the Stillwater Area High School to sponsor what we see as a regular Veterans Day essay contest, with the subject being, "What Veterans Day Means to Me." The contest comes with a modest award stipend as well. This year's winner is Alyssa Bump. I welcome her to the podium to read her essay. Following that, we will hear a music selection by the Stillwater Area School Brass Ensemble. Alyssa? You're there.
November 11th, the day I remember the fallen for their sacrifices, not only those who have lost their lives for our country, but those who have given up their freedom for mine. November 11th, the day where I remember all of the brave that put our country's values and freedoms above all else. November 11th, the day I remember my Grandpa Dick, who served in the Army. I remember him being so proud to wear his veteran's cap, which reflected his service in the Vietnam War. November 11th, the day I remember my Papa Kenny, who served in the Navy during World War II. I also think about others who never got to meet their great-granddaughters. November 11th, the day I remember the stories of my great-grandpa Ralphie, who served in the Army during World War II. I've been told he talked a lot about his time pulling kitchen duty, peeling lots of potatoes. November 11th, the day I remember my dad serving in the Army Reserves. Although he downplays his service, I am proud that he was willing to serve our country. What does Veterans Day mean to me? Our veterans, regardless of how or when they served, deserve our appreciation and admiration every day, not just November 11th. Thank you.
Fabulous job. Now I'd like to welcome Tara King, who will read Remembering the Veteran. Tara?
On this Veterans Day, at this Stillwater Veterans Memorial, we pause to honor the brave men and women who serve, or those who have served in the United States Armed Forces. We especially pay tribute to those who have given their lives or suffered physical or mental wounds in the course of defending this great nation. We acknowledge their families as they serve to support this important contribution to our country. Many have had to deal with frequent deployments away from home, experiencing their own variety of struggles. From the oppressive heat, sandstorms, and challenges of present-day Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan, to the deprivations and deserts of North Africa and jungles in the Pacific during World War II, to the numbing cold and materiel deficiencies of the Continental Army at Valley Forge, our veterans have often survived the most physically challenging and stressful conditions imaginable. As we remember those sacrifices made by all veterans since the nation's founding, we especially thank those still putting themselves and their lives on the line on our behalf around the world, particularly in the fight against terrorist groups, the Islamic State of Iraq, and the continuing struggle against the Taliban in Afghanistan. More than 16 years after 9/11, the United States still has thousands of troops deployed around the globe, fighting to protect our national interests and promote our values. Let us forever be mindful and understanding of those veterans in our midst whose experiences still burden them today in ways we'll never comprehend or understand. They are our heroes. They have suffered in their commitment to preserve our freedoms. We honor them today, and we must continue to provide the best possible care and support while keeping them in our thoughts and in our prayers every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. We now welcome back to the podium the Summertime Quartet Singers, who will sing for us the Armed Forces Medley.
From the rising of the sun till the battle's fought and won, we will fight for the right and defend our country. We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through howling gale and shot and shell to win our victory. Semper Paratus is our guide, our pledge, our motto too. We're always ready, do or die. I Coast Guard, we fight for you, for you. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Anchors aweigh, my boys, anchors aweigh. as we sail at break of day. Through our last night ashore, drink to the foam. And till we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home. First to fight for the right and to build our nation's might, and the army goes rolling along, proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way, count out the cadence loud and strong, for where'er we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. Oh, off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, booming to meet our thunder, and a boys, give 'em the gun, give 'em the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flames from under, up with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, or go down in flames, for nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea, from sea to shining sea. America, 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 America.
Thank you, Summertime Quartet singers. I would like to now introduce our keynote speaker and honored guest for the Stillwater Veterans Memorial, Thomas Furnett. Tom Furnett was born and raised in Winona, Minnesota. He enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps in 2006 as an infantryman. During his enlistment, Tom had 2 combat deployments with the 1st Battalion, 4th Marine Regiment as both a team leader and squad leader. Following his enlistment, Tom attended the University of St. Thomas Law School and is now currently employed as the Assistant Washington County Attorney. Tom is married to Alejandra Furnett, and they are now expecting their first child in March of 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tom to our podium.
Good morning. I appreciate everyone coming out today. It's a beautiful day. A little cold, but on a Veterans Day, I think that's quite fitting. Now, this is a day to honor those men and women who at one point in time stepped up when their country needed them. Many young boys, young women who enlisted straight out of high school at the age of 18. I think everyone can remember when they were 18, the world was a bit uncertain and they didn't know what lay ahead. And that's definitely true for anyone that joins any one of the branches of services, whether it's during a time of peace or during a time of war. So I commend all the young men and women out there fighting today, and I respect and appreciate all the men that had come before me and all the women who sacrificed for us also. I was asked to talk broadly about three things. One, what a veteran is, and then to share my experience as a veteran, and then to also discuss what we can do to help veterans today that are returning home. What a veteran is to me is someone who, like I said, volunteered at one point in time or was drafted and went and served their country and did it honorably and came home. Prior to joining the military, I wasn't quite sure what a veteran truly was. I knew that they were men who had went off to fight in wars. It was even difficult for me when I became a veteran and was still in active duty to recognize what exactly a veteran was. But what it is a brotherhood, and it stems back to the times of our founding fathers from the Revolutionary War, who stood up and took a gamble and fought for an idea of freedom and equality. And while they didn't have it mapped out perfectly, they were willing to dare for that. And since that time, each generation of young men has fought for some idea to keep this country great, to make it better, to strive for equality for all. And that works because of the individual veteran, the servicemen, who stand up and go to do that sacrifice. And while they may not know precisely what their duty is, collectively, they have shaped America. So when asked what a veteran is, I would say to you, it could be a police officer that you see on the street, who before that was in the hills of Afghanistan guarding supply lines. A veteran might be a nurse, who you see in the emergency room now, but prior to that was a nurse in Vietnam, tending to young men who were hurt on the battlefield. A veteran is also the old man who works part-time at Kowalski's or Lund's and gives you a smile as he bags your groceries. And then he goes home. But prior to that, he was a young spry man that jumped out of a boat and stormed the beaches of Normandy. There is no common thread or mold of a veteran. But that's like America. It's a great equalizer where you join the military and you're equal from day one. As any veteran will tell you, it's not about your race, your creed, or your ideas, but it's about being American. And that's what a veteran is. It's someone that put it on the line and went and lived the American ideals. When I left the gates of Camp Pendleton, it was an outstanding feeling of joy like any other military person probably felt when they get their DD-214 in their hand and they run out of those gates. But it also made me pause for one moment to realize that prior to that, each day that I woke up, whether it be in sunny California or sunny Iraq, that every one of the men that was on my left and right that had gotten me through 4 years was gone. And from that point on, I was alone. And like each and every veteran before me, they felt the same thing at one point in time. And that is the most difficult time for a veteran. Because while they rejoice in having their freedom back to go live in civilian life, what dawns quickly is that they are alone. And it takes a long time to adjust to society. Each veteran leaves with some type of wounds. Whether they're physical ailments, a loss of a limb, a physical scar, or whether they're internal wounds from shrapnel, possibly a pin in their knee, or the moral wounds that keep them up late at night. But each one shares something, that they have to come back and they have to find someone. Hopefully a group. For me, it took a long time to appreciate it was to be a veteran. But as time went on, I began to realize that what I missed were my brothers, my sisters that fought alongside me. So the question becomes, what do you do when you come home? And what do we do for those young men and women who come home and don't have anyone? Because there's another veteran out there that I didn't mention. And he might be a young man who was a squad leader in Iraq. And now where you see him is possibly not at college or anywhere else, but he's in a bar room. And he's the belligerent man you see. And he runs into trouble with the law, and what do we do for that person? It would be easy to walk away. But we have an obligation to our veterans to do something more. It doesn't require an enormous amount of funding or time on anyone's part. A case in point is what the Washington County Attorney Peter Orpret did when he first took office. And that was to design a program for veterans returning home from Afghanistan and Iraq, and to also help out and support those from World War II and Vietnam who unfortunately may not have had those type of services available to when they came home. So what Pete Orpet did, with the help of Assistant County George Cooperin, an Army veteran himself, and along with two judges, Richard Ilka and Gregory Galler, was designed a program to identify when veterans come home and get into trouble, then rather than send these individuals to jail with lengthy sentences and fines, rather it was to help them. And how you help them is not to give them a free pass, but it's to help that veteran remember that he is a person and to give him a mission. What the diversion program does is to track them, to give them services in the VA, to possibly get them sober, to help them deal with PTSD. And it's been successful. So I urge you, if you happen to see a Pete Orpet or a George Cooperin or Judge Ilka or Galler, tell them thank you or write them a letter. Because there hasn't been a single thing that I can think of that's been more effective to helping veterans than normal citizens like yourself that are in a position to do it, that do it. We can't rely just on our government or the VA to always be there for everyone. But if you take just a little bit of your time out of your day to thank them, that goes a long way. And when they stumble, we help them up. And to my fellow veterans that are out there that are suffering, you can call. You can get help. You can call me. But what we can't forget is that when you get when you leave the gates of whatever base you left, and just because you can't see people to your left and right like you used to be able to, they're there. You just have to seek them out. On that, God bless America, and thank you everyone for coming out today.
I now invite committee member Harriet McPherson to the podium to honor 17 veterans whose pavers will now allow their service to be enshrined here at the Stillwater Veterans Memorial, as well as recognize their families and members of their family who are also present in attendance. Harriet?
Thanks, Tom. And hi, everybody. What an inspiring speech for all of us to think of the veterans that we know and how we might help them, how we might do something for them and not always expect everything to do things for us. We have 17 names today, And the ones with new pavers have a flag on them. So if you're looking around for the new pavers that have been added since Memorial Day, they have a little flag on them. The first name we have today is Gerald Balfons, who served in the Army in Korea. Are there any of the Balfons family here? Will you please stand if you are? Thank you, thank you. Next we have George Clymer, who served in the Spanish-American War. That Clymer name is a well-known one down in the Afton area. Are there any of that family here? Thank you for being here. Now we have Robert Crabtree, who served in the Navy in World War II. A well-known name here in the valley and in the city of Lake Elmo. I'll bet some of his family are here. Here we are, over here. Thank you. Tell your mom hi. Now we have Scott Fisher, who served in the Marines in Afghanistan. Is Scott here or any of his family members? Chase E. Johnson serves in the Navy and is an ensign at the Naval Flight School. Are any of his family here? Ronald E. Johnson, who served in the Navy from 1957 to 59. Do we have any of that family here? We have Daniel Selmore, who served in the Army during the Vietnam era. Do we have any of the Selmore family here? That was a well-known family in Stillwater. Raphael, maybe some of you remember, was our senator for a while. Now we have Bruce Wilkerson, who served in the Air Force from 1959 to 1966. Anybody here from the Wilkerson family? Nice to have you here. Lansing Wilson III, who served in the Navy from 1974 to 1994, 20 years. Are any of the Wilson family here? Thank you for being here. Now we have, adding to the Miller, Langsett, Crawford, Howard family, some family members. They now have 11 pavers here at our memorial, which I think is the most that any family has here. So today we're adding Scott Crawford Jr., who served in the Air Force during Enduring Freedom, and Herbert Howard served in the Navy during World War II. Are there members of that family here? Oh, a huge crowd. Thank you for being here. Now we will add to the Duran Steinbach family, Richard Eugene Durand, who served in the Navy during World War II and Korea. Are there any of the Durand family here? Okay, and in that, part of that same family is Michael Steinbach, who served in the Navy in Vietnam. So why don't you all remain standing as I call your family names? And Krista Steinbach. So we have a lady from this family that served during the Army in Iraq, Kosovo. And Seth Steinbach served in the Army during Iraq and Kosovo. We have all of those family people here. Thank you. And from the Townsend Wright family, we're adding 2 names. If those people are here, we're adding Cheryl Townsend, who served in the Army during Iraqi freedom, and Gerald Wright, who served in the Army in Korea. Thank you for being here. And that is our 17 new pavers that we have with us, and we're so happy to have all of you be a part of our memorial family. We feel like we're a family here with so many of us that have veterans either on the wall or in a paver. And so thanks so much for being here to celebrate today.
So if anybody is interested in doing a paver, there is literature back in the tent over there. Along with there is some hot coffee and a few cookies that, we would love you to be able to enjoy. Again, that was the Stillwater Brass Ensemble. Fabulous job. And I never was a person that played an instrument, but for some reason, playing an instrument in the cold weather, I have a feeling it's a little bit more difficult than the nice warm auditoriums. I welcome back to the podium Dave Rattay to give benediction. Dave?
Please pray with me. God of compassion, God of dignity, and God of strength, watch over our veterans in recognition of their loyal service to our nation. Bless them with wholeness and love, heal their wounds, comfort their hearts, and grant them peace. Bless our veterans with a deep and abiding understanding of our profound gratitude. Grant them lives of joy and bounty. May their dedication and service be remembered as a blessing from all generations, now and forever. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now return back to our point of beginning of remembering that 100 years have passed since the signing of that armistice. As we conclude our Veterans Day ceremony, I would like to thank all of you for coming and braving this chill and snow. It is snowing again. A special thanks to all those who participated in this event and for those who have made the ceremony happen. You will find their names on the back of your programs, and they include Johnny's TV and Valley Access channels for doing all the media, and especially this sound system. It's really nice to have a good working sound system. Also for Cub and Kowalski's and Dunn Brothers for the refreshments. Now I got to make sure you understand, there are refreshments there, plenty of coffee to go around, and our cookies. Also for the Stillwater Area High School Brass Ensemble and the Summertime Quartet for our music. And then over in the tent we have Art and Shirley, who are manning the refreshments, and we got to thank them. Lastly, I would like you to know about the Stillwater. If you'd like to know any more about the Stillwater Veterans Memorial, stop by after the ceremony and speak to any of the board members. A lot of them have the black caps on that say Stillwater Veterans Memorial on the front, which, by the way, are for sale in the tent. Please rise as we retire the colors by Sergeant First Class Isaac Gerling and our American Legion post. Detail, retire the colors. This concludes our ceremony, and we will have the Stillwater Brass Ensemble play Yankee Doodle Dandy.